Hello everyone, this is Keith Sampson, Vice President of Business Development with Competitive Energy. I am here with Liz Anderson and Matt Gamache. And we're excited to talk to you about the Solar Group Net Metering program that's sponsored by the PV Consortium of Vermont Supervisory Unions and Schools. CES partnered with the consortium back in 2015. How we got here was that in 2014, the Public Service Department conducted a study that ultimately recommended Vermont ratepayers and taxpayers take advantage of the federal tax incentives prior to the end of 2016 to boost solar generation in the state through net metering. The consortium went out and ran an RFP funded by a grant and selected CES as their consultant to run a public RFP process. Per the selection, CES will act as an advisor to guide the Vermont schools through the process of choosing a developer, contract with that developer, and ultimately monitor and monetize those credits for the next 20 years. So CES is a partner with the Vermont Consortium members in perpetuity or for the course of the next 20 years as a result of this whole entire process. CES is an independent energy services firm that started in 1996 with the deregulation laws in the state of Maine. Today we are a strong company that advises many institutional and governmental sector clients in a variety of different energy initiatives, including procurement of electricity, natural gas, oils, propane, sustainability, metering, budgeting, and ultimately the solar net metering has been a big focus for CES. CES has negotiated over 60 megawatts of solar net metering credits for our institutional clients, most of which are in Massachusetts, because Massachusetts has some of the best solar incentives in the country. These same solar incentives are now being implemented in Vermont, which is why CES saw the opportunity and ultimately was awarded this contract with the consortium to move forward. The consortium consists of 8 Vermont supervisory unions which banded together and we did an RFP totaling 61 electricity accounts, 12.7 million kilowatt hours, roughly 9 megawatts of net metering credit opportunities for this 8 school union 61 electricity account consortium. So what did we do? We went to bid, requested proposals. We received 11 proposals, and the 2 best proposals were from Aegis and Nexamp, based on percent savings of net metering credits. CES and the Consortium Steering Committee have determined that this is the best value to the consortium. And so the purpose of this presentation today is to explain this recommendation and to explain the savings and next steps. So why group net metering? Group net metering is a way for schools to save 22% on their electricity spend starting in 2016 with no upfront spending, minimal risk, and pending some approvals from the Green Mountain Power and the Vermont Service Board, the consortium members would get the same savings in the same deal. So let's talk about how net metering works. Net metering is like a 3-legged stool. 3 legs of the stool consist of the solar developer, the utility, in this case Green Mountain Power, and the host, in this case the schools. Solar is generated off-site in some place within the Green Mountain Power territory and is transferred to the lines and wires, the utility grid, where Green Mountain Power accepts and utilizes those electrons. Those electrons are monetized at the metered amount times the rate code that's set for a net metered account. So electricity flows through a meter onto the grid, is measured, and is monetized based on a set rate or a tariffed rate. That is what determines the credit. The credit that Green Mountain Power applies to the host bill is determined based on the kilowatt hours generated at the rate set forth by the utility. The host then reimburses the developer as a percentage of the credit. In the example that I'm going to use in a second, I'm going to talk about a credit for $100,000 for which the host reimburses the developer at a 35% discount of that $100,000. So how does this work? How do these proposals come together? CES is recommending that the consortium moves forward with Aegis and Nexamp in a portfolio of projects, and depending on how we get ruled on by the Public Service Board, hopefully those will all be in a supergroup, and if not, those will all be essentially monetized at the same dollar value for each one of the school boards. This is how it works. Each school has a annual utility spend. That utility spend is determined based on consumption and based on futuristic rates set by Green Mountain Power. CES has done an analysis on each school district, looking at the 3-year consumption and the Green Mountain Power rates, and estimated what the annual spend would be on a go-forward basis. CES does not recommend committing the full value of your utility spend in the event that you use less in the future. So therefore, it's our recommendation that you only commit to 80% of your annual spend. So that's column number 2, where we show estimated value of net metering credit values. The next step in the process is that the host pays the developer and also pays the CES fee, and the annual difference is the savings, roughly 22%. CES is then calculated based on futuristic rate calculations and growth over time, what the 20-year estimate of savings would be. It's not 1 year times 20, but it's our evaluation of future markets and future credits, and the savings will go up and down over time, but the proportion of savings will remain the same, 22%. So again, in the sample that we've shown here, I use the SAU 38 because it's easy math. Rutland Southwest will spend roughly $100,000 per year on their utilities, on electricity, in a course of a year. We're only recommending that they commit to 80% of that, so then the total value of the net metering credits is going to be 80%. SAU 38 will have to pay the developer and CES $57,000, thereby saving $22,000 or $524,000 over the course of 20 years. So this is an example of how it will work. Each school district will get their own individual slide for each individual school district, itemizing each school and their savings. So this is a little bit about the Aegis Nexamp offer. Projects located in Berlin. They offered a 35% discount, which was the most competitive financial discount offered. The problem is there's only 632 kilowatt hours, which is only enough for a few utility accounts. So we're going to maximize the Nexamp project, but we're also going to have to go to another project, and that's where SunEdison comes in. Aegis is a Vermont company that's partnered with a Nexamp in southern New England, and the project is expected to be online in the summer of 2016. Educational opportunities do exist. SunEdison is different. It's 32%. It ranks high on all other criteria. There's 7 projects totaling 8.8 megawatts or 8,870 kW combined total capacity. This is enough total capacity to serve about 80% of the collective load of the consortium. Credits have been offered at 32% discount if all project off-takers are used, as opposed to 30% if only some of the projects are taken. When we take a 32% discount, that's when we back into a net 22% discount, like we'll show you in the next slide, in the next group of slides. In addition to the SunEd project being a strong project financially, it's also valuable because it's in some stage of development currently, which means there's a high probability that it'll come online. SunEd offers an 80% production guarantee, which is important because SunEd gets paid on these projects through three ways: through the federal tax credits, through the sale of renewable energy credits, and through the sale of electricity through net metering credits, all of which require the project to be operational and functional. And SunEd will guarantee a 90% production guarantee, which means that SunEd is going to be incumbent on maintaining and operating these for the next 20 years. SunEd is a major national solar developer that's recently made a push into Vermont, and they offer a number of different educational opportunities. The opportunities may look like customized kiosks for monitoring output, for online dashboards, for students and employees, for solar-sponsored events, for schools and community members, and for collaborative curriculum. So the process to move forward is that consortium members sign a group net metering contract with the developer. Developer applies for their permits with the Public Service Board. CES continues to work on the consortium group master metering arrangement, and the credits would be allocated based on percentages back to the different school districts, assuming that supergroup is not approved by the Public Service Board. Next steps are for the consortium members to obtain approval from school boards and key stakeholders. Consortium members will need to move forward with the pre-approved group net metering contracts with Aegis and SunEdison, and the contracts all need to be completed by November 5th, 2015. In the end, we think this is a great idea for our customers because everyone receives the same discount. They have minimal risk, no upfront cash, saves 22% on electricity, and a very important thing is that the contract has already been completed with a legal review from the state. Prior to the RFP, we included a contract with the RFP, and this is the same contract that's been approved by the state and will ultimately be signed by the different developers and the customer and the school districts. So we're looking forward to your participation. We know that this is a tight timeline and this is a new technology, but CES is here to help. If you're looking for additional information, it can be found in the appendix. We have a slide that shows the difference between conventional and virtual net metering. We have a little bit more detail on the Vermont Public Service Board evaluation of net metering credits, where the Public Service Board study recommends that that both Green Mountain Power and ratepayers will benefit from a net metering credit program. We talk a little bit about how the consortium works and the net metering credit process. We talk a little bit about how the 22% net savings calculation is done, taking 80% of the spend, giving a 32% discount, paying the CES 12.5% fee of savings, or a net of 3%, and a net savings of 22% to each school district. And here's how to get in touch with us: Keith Sampson, Liz Anderson, and Matt Gamache. Look forward to your participation. Please call if you have any questions.